What if I told you guys that the Venture Electronics Megatron, a DAC which I highly recommend for a value for money DAC with great power, has an older brother? An older brother which is even more powerful and can run even more demanding headphones and IEMs. The Venture Electronics Galvatron. Let's jump into it. Welcome back, Audiophiles. It's me, your boy Joe, back again with another video, and this time we'll be looking at the Venture Electronics Galvatron. So this, as you know by now, is from the Venture Electronics brand. They're known for really good IEMs and earphones right now, such as the Venture Electronics Megatron. And I am actually going to do a side-by-side comparison of both the Megatron and the Galvatron, since I have both of them. And quick disclaimer is that this Venture Electronics Galvatron is given to me by the Venture Electronics brand and from the Geek group, so a huge shout out to them. Thank you so much for giving me the unit for review, but as usual, all thoughts and opinions are my own and no biases whatsoever. So with all that said, let's just jump right into it for this case. So the Venture Electronics Galvatron is $200 as of the time of this review, and you could also get it in a bundle where it's just for another $20 more. You could even get the Venture Electronics Galvatron along with the UA Vanguard. So that's a really good package, and it's a very good starter kit for those who wants to get a headphone and a very powerful amp as well. So moving on to the unboxing, the Venture Electronics Galvatron is actually pretty much similar to how the Megatron works. It just comes in a very standard cardboard box with the accessories inside. I got a USB-C cable and of course the Galvatron, and little bits and bobs like that. So it's not a major unboxing experience per se, but that's how Venture Electronics rolls. It just goes for the more simplistic approach for the unboxing, but then putting all that money into the innovation and also the DAC and the product itself for that matter. So I see where they're going with this, and I'm all for it. So I don't mind if the box is a very simple box. If they put the money all into the product, I'm really happy for that. So looking into the design, as you can see, the Galvatron is very similar to how the Megatron looks. Kind of like a silverish metallic look to it. It has a nice, neat unibody-like design with the front and back at black panels. And let's see the front and back, shall we? So the front is where the volume knob is. It also has the 3.5 single-ended connection. It has the 4.4 and it has a mic attachment. So you could also connect this to a mic if you want along with that 4.4, along with the gain switch for high and low. I really like the fact that the mic is separate in here. So even if you use a 4.4, you could use this for gaming-oriented devices where you want to have an extra mic attachment, boom arm, or anything of that sort and connect it in here. So that's a really good feature to have. In the back, we are having... So in the back, we have the charge connection. We even have line out, so you could connect this to other amps if you want. It'll give you a preamped circuit with that. And it has an SPDIF with the data connection. Now, the way the data and the charge connection is very similar to how the Megatron was. By the way, if you haven't looked at my Megatron review, do check that out. That's a very good review, which shows how this Megatron is capable of running really powerful equipment. But the concept of that charge in the DAC is the same in the Megatron. So in which you can run this straight off your phone or any other kind of sources, which just gives the digital input, and you don't have to power the DAC with it. It will not pull in the power. It will instead can take power from a charge. So you could take a power bank or any other kind of direct 5-volt input, put it into the charge, and then it will only get the data from that data input. So if you take this to a phone, or if you have a laptop which doesn't give that much power output, so you could actually plug in a direct input to the power in here, and it will not suck up all the battery of the other digital device that you're using for the data input. So that's a really good feature to have. I like it that way. But in my case, you could just run the data input for any other kind of powerful equipment. If you connect it to a PC, well and good, it'll still power it both fine. But if you want extra power and juice, that's the way to go. So you can see the design is pretty minimalistic. I really like how it is. The golden volume knob feels really nice. It's very smooth as well, so the haptics on that is really good. Overall, I could see that this can be kept in most setups and it would perfectly blend in. So that's really nice. So enough said about the design. Let's move on to the sound impressions. So moving to the sound impressions, you can't be talking about the sound without comparing it with the Megatron, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So talking specs wise, this Galvatron is actually amazing. This thing cranks up to 3000 milliwatts of power out the 32 ohm impedance. So that's amazing for a DAC amp to provide that much output for just the data cable alone. So even if you just provide the data cable to a good PC, this thing cranking up to 3 watts of power is really good. I don't know what sorcery do they do to achieve that kind of power. So it's really good. So with all that power, how does the Galvatron perform compared to the Megatron? Well, first and foremost, they have that kind of VE style sound signature, I would say. It has that kind of bass focus sound signature that is similar to how the Megatron performed. They focus on the bass quality, they focus on the bass rumble. I could even talk about all the different IEMs that I did connect with it. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about the Dita Prelude. So this one is a really good IEM to have, and if you have missed the Dita Prelude, do check it out in the card up there, so where I've talked about how the Dita Prelude sound signature overall is. In this particular video, I'm not going to be talking about its particular sound signature. I'm going to see how it synergizes with both the Megatron and the Galvatron for that matter. So the Dita Prelude, I would say in short, is something of a neutral-ish IEM with a kind of a good bass response in it, and I could clearly hear that bass response is much more better in the Galvatron. The bass is more thumpy, the bass has more details in it, the bass push is really authoritative, and that's really nice with the Galvatron. In comparison with the Megatron, I would say that the Megatron is still good. I would not count this as far back as I wanted to, but the main feature which defines between the Megatron and the Galvatron is this. The volume knob is a major feature in my books because you can fine-tune that volume to the perfect level that you want in the Galvatron, whereas in the Megatron, it takes the PC's volume as its input. So you actually have to fiddle with the PC volume to get the input you want. The Dita Prelude is not a very sensitive IEMs by any means, but in this Megatron, I was able to crank it up to like 30-ish% to 30-ish to 40-ish, and I'm already getting the volume that I want, but it's in between, so it's either too low or too high, so that's the little finicky part in the Megatron. Whereas in the Galvatron, it was perfect. I put it to the sweet spot that I wanted it to, and that volume control was excellent. So keeping that kind of volume control aside, what else do I talk about it? Well, first, like I said, with the bass response, it's really good. I would say that the bass response in the Galvatron is about like 20-ish% maybe. So 20-ish% more stronger, more sharper. That's also something I very clearly noted between the Galvatron and the Megatron for that aspect. And in the mid regions, the mid is pretty much untouched in both these cases. So both of these are really good decks for that matter, where they don't touch the mids that much. The treble is also perfect. They didn't touch the treble. If anything, I think it's lightly smoothened, ever so lightly, but I could just count that as my own placebo for that matter. So take whatever I say with a pinch of salt if you want to. So comparing both of these two things, the Galvatron is taking the lead with an extra bass quality and bass thump. So that is better in the Galvatron as compared to the Megatron. And of course, the volume adjustment, which is also pretty much nice. One other feature maybe I could talk about is that the soundstage in the Galvatron is a little bit wider than the Megatron as well. You actually feel a little bit more immersed in the sound when you're using it to the Galvatron to the Megatron. I did try to volume match as much as I can with the same volume, and this is the kind of output result that I had. So pulling out more demanding IEMs, next up in the line we have the Symphonium Giant. So the Symphonium Giant is a really demanding set which does need a lot of power to drive. And in that case, I would say that the Galvatron is amazing at it. If you have missed the Symphonium Giant's review, do check it out in the card up there, where I could tell you about the overall sound signature of the Symphonium Giant. But overall, it is a highly demanding set which needs a lot of power to really shine. And I dare say that the Galvatron is chef's kiss for that. The Symphonium Giant has that kind of really heavy thumping bass, and the Galvatron is doing really good justice for that and makes that bass much more sharper and well defined as well. So that's something I really like, how the Galvatron is fixing that. The Megatron, still not bad at all. It is really good. It is fixing the bass to the extent, but that bass sharpness is something that's in the Galvatron but not in the Megatron. So the Megatron is giving that bass details, Galvatron is still crossing that, but in the bass sharpness, Megatron doesn't give that bass sharpness effect, but the Galvatron makes that bass much more tighter, much more punchier. So that's something I really like about the Galvatron as compared to the Megatron. So overall, what are my impressions with the Venture Electronics Galvatron? Well, first and foremost, its design is really good. It's really nice to have. It has a very minimalistic footprint, so you can match this up to any of your desktop systems. And its power is unmatched at this price point. It's really good that just with the data port and the charge port, if you put this into a power bank, you could crank up to 3000 milliwatts of power with this, and that is excellent. So in terms of quality of output, it really defines that bass region very well. It gives a much more tighter, much more punchier feel. And overall, I really love how the Galvatron is. It's excellent value for money, and I dare say Venture Electronics has struck it again with this Galvatron. So I would say that if you want something in a more budget-oriented approach, but then you have heavy demanding headphones, then the Megatron is the way to go. It's easy recommendation from me in that aspect. But if you want more finer controls, you want even more bass quality, and you're able to go up to that $200 price point, then the Venture Electronics Galvatron is my best bet. So this is an easy recommendation for me, and by rating, if you didn't know by now, the Venture Electronics Galvatron gets an easy 5 out of 5 for me. So if you tell me a price point at $200, what is a really good deck to have that can match with pretty much anything you want and any kind of feature that you need, I would say the Venture Electronics Galvatron is the way to go. If you have a 4.4 and if you need a lot of power, it's the Galvatron for you. So things I would say that needs a little bit of the improvement if I were to really nitpick on the Galvatron would be in its detail orientation. So as I said before, it doesn't touch much on the treble details, but it does slightly soften the treble a little bit because of all that importance that it's giving to the bass. The bass region is really good by all means. As a bass head, I'm loving it. So that's there first and foremost. But anyone who is a detail lover, anyone who wants that extra wider soundstage, that transparency, that details, the technicalities, might not be interested much in the Galvatron because it doesn't touch much at it. I would not say it really reduces the details. I would say that it softens it to the lightest of limits, but in that case, if you want something which is highly analytical, if you want something which is total reference grade, and you don't want your bass to be touched that much, then probably those people will not go after the Galvatron. It's after a lot of nitpicking if I want to think about such a case on the Galvatron. But yeah, that is my overall impressions on the Galvatron. Do let me know what you think about the Venture Electronics Galvatron down at the comments below. Are you having one? How is that compared to the Megatron if you're having both of them? Do let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. And with that said, if you do like my videos, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like my videos, give me a thumbs down. I don't know. And this is Joe, and I would see you in the next review. Peace.